Hey YouTube, this is Jeff with JMX Scope Mounts here today to show you a project that I recently completed. And the project that I just completed is I made a green laser mounting rail for my Rossi M92 rifle. And the reason I made this rail is because I wanted to learn how to hip shoot this gun, but being I've never hip shot a lever action rifle, the chances of me hitting a target from the hip is going to take a long time and probably a lot of ammo. So to speed up that process, I decided I would make a rail that I could mount a green laser to aid me in being able to hit my target. Just a shortcut, and it would save a lot of ammo. It's not designed as a tactical device to try to modernize this weapon and bring it into the 21st century or anything ridiculous like that. Just a fun little project, just something that I knew I could make, and thought you might take an interest in it. So with all that being said, let's move right along, and I'll get to showing you how I made it. Okay, here's the rifle that I have, and if you'll notice the magazine tube is the most logical place to mount a laser mount. Definitely don't want it up on top of the barrel to interfere with my iron sights, and putting it on the top of the rifle anywhere in general is just not a good idea. So mounting it to the magazine tube seemed to be the best versus using, say, something like this here, stock band, or drilling or modifying into the stock. You really wouldn't want to go that route. So I had to first measure this tube, and the tube itself measured 525 thousandths. So it's a little bit more than a ½ inch, and so I had to step up my size on the bit. I thought I could maybe drill out the piece of aluminum that I chose to use with the ½ inch bit, but I ended up having to use a 9/16 inch bit, which is 562 thousandths, leaving you 37 thousandths wider of a radius. But being that I'm going to make this into a clamping type device, I figured we could work around that. So here you can see the laser, the bit that I chose, which is the 9/16 bit, and a piece of aluminum block. This is, I believe this is 6015 or 6025 aluminum. Basically just your basic aircraft aluminum. Good stuff. Okay, I chose to mill this out on my milling machine, and so we had to get things set up here. And first of all, I machined it so it was exactly 2 inches long. Machined the edges, got it trimmed down to 2 inches long. Then set it up in the milling machine to do a plunge cut with my 9/16 bit. Okay, there you can see the cut being made, and now we have the radius run from one end to the other. So this piece will be able to fit onto the magazine tube. Next, I had to thin out some material, so I used a 3/8 inch bit and cut out probably an additional 1/4 inch to 5/16 of an inch through the channel of the radius to thin it out so that it would be able to be clamped by 2 screws. The sides were a little bit thick, so I went ahead and set it up in a fly cutter to thin it down from 7/8 inch down to about 3/4. Now the fly cutter, the reason I chose to use a fly cutter instead of a regular milling bit is the fly cutter gives just an unbelievable finish on aluminum, as you'll see in the next picture here. And there you can see the sides machined down. So now we're about 3/4 of an inch wide, roughly. You can see where the channel's been milled out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole here, thread the corresponding wall across from that hole, do the same thing down here about a 1/4 inch in, and that will allow me to screw those 2 screws tight and pull these 2 sides in to clamp onto the magazine tube. Just did a little fitting just to see how it would fit on there. You can see it slides on the tube, and fits pretty good. Okay, the next thing I did was put it in the machine, in the milling machine, and I'm finding center and the edges so that I can drill my holes on center, 1/4 inch in. There's holes being drilled. Now, once I drilled my holes and everything, I went for a test fit and to test out the clamping capability, and the whole mount base was just too thick. And so I had to thin everything down so that the sides were probably about 1/8 of an inch thick. So I had a lot of machining to do on the sides and also on the top, because the top was over 1/4 inch thick. So we had to lighten it up in order to be able to give it some flexibility. It was just too rigid. And there you go. There's the finished project, threaded and tapped. And you can see I've removed an incredible amount of material inside here and on each side. So this is approximately 1/8 of an inch thick now. And as far as tightening up the 2 screws to get it to clamp, it clamps perfect. Next I had to come up with a rail to mount the green laser on. And so I had an aluminum rail laying around from one of my aluminum low profile scope mounts for the Mosin Nagants, and this one had a small defect on it, so I couldn't sell it. You can see right there it's got a cosmetic blem right there, a little dent, and I think there was a couple other little blems on it. Very good functional rail, but not something I could sell, so I chose to use this rail. And so I'm going to cut it down to 2 inches. The holes already match this. This is a 2-inch base, and you got a 1/4 inch in on center, and that's the way this rail is set up. So it was a no-brainer. Just basically, you can see here I cut the rail, and there it is, finished product, already sized up and ready to go on. And there's what it looks like together. Now the base is still raw aluminum, and I'll either paint it flat black, or maybe I'll send it out to the anodizer with my next run of parts and have it anodized black. Okay, here we're mounting it on the rifle. Got the rifle on the workbench. Made sure that found a flat spot on the bottom of the rifle. Made sure it was level, and then went ahead and mounted and clamped on the rail, making sure that it was level. And there you go. There it is, finished and mounted onto the rifle. There's a little closer up picture there. And here it is with the laser mounted. I went ahead and chose to use the little pressure tab rather than the switch, and then that way I could, when I'm holding the stock out in front of me, holding the forearm of the rifle, I can just press that with my thumb to turn it on, and should work quite nicely. And there's another pic. Now, one thing I found out after I completed this project, and that is that the magazine tube can rotate. It's stiff, it doesn't rotate easy, but if you push on this laser, it will rotate about, I would say, about a 1/4 inch to the left or a 1/4 inch to the right. Now, keep in mind, the laser would still be on plane and true and in line with the barrel, but it would move the dot over an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch one way or another. So I don't know if that's going to prove to be problematic when I start shooting with it, because I know that this will get bumped from left to right from time to time, so it isn't going to be always dead center running down the middle of the rifle. But here again, you know, I'm not going to be shooting this thing 100, 150 yards, precision shooting or anything like that with a green laser. This is just for fun, just for my fantasies of being a rifleman, you know. And so we'll probably be shooting it, you know, 10, 15, 20 yards, maybe 30 yards hip shooting, and see how it goes from there. And you know, it could be a lot of fun. It could be a good training aid, you know, and then again it might not. But you just never know with projects like this. But either way, it was kind of fun to make, and so I figured I would share it with y'all. So write in the responses down below here on the video. Let me know what you think of it, and I guess we'll see you later, YouTube. Take care. Bye.